whether the adults will stay in the room long enough for it to grow up. According to a 2026 survey by Robert Half of 2,000 U.S. hiring managers, 32% of organizations that eliminated a role primarily due to AI or automation later rehired for the exact same position. 1 in 3 employers spend more on restaffing than they saved from the original layoffs. Forrester Research 2026 Future of Work report estimated that 55% of employers who replaced employees with AI regret the decision. That's kind of a large number for what we're talking about. And Gartner projects that by 2027, half of all companies that cut customer service staff for AI will rehire for similar roles, often under new job titles. But perhaps most importantly of all, 73% of organizations that executed AI-driven workforce cuts failed to come out financially ahead. Industry analysts now call this the AI boomerang, which sounds very charming until you realize the boomerang comes back holding an invoice. And of course, the pattern is predictable enough to set your watch by. A company announces it's replacing human workers with AI, the staff is downsized, 6 to 12 months pass, the AI successfully handles about 60% of the job, the routine, repetitive pattern matching portion, but the remaining 40%, well, that's where judgment lives. Escalation, context, institutional knowledge, stuff like that, the things that a human being accumulates over years and decades of experience. The AI can't do them, so the company rehires, often the same people, by the way, and often at higher salaries. Roles that previously paid $55,000 per year are now commanding $75,000 per year or more because the returning employees now need to manage and audit the AI as well. Congratulations, you've invented consulting, but with extra trauma. The examples are mounting across industries. Klarna, which is the poster child for AI replacement, whose CEO proudly announced that their AI agent could do the work of 700 customer service representatives, began rehiring customer service staff when the promised returns failed to materialize. McDonald's deployed AI-driven order-taking bots across 100 U.S. drive-thrus, then shut down the program after viral videos showed the system adding hundreds of dollars of chicken nuggets to simple orders, and then brought human cashiers back, which is a devastating blow to AI development, but kind of a massive win for all of us who have always wanted to buy hundreds of chicken nuggets but have been too shy. IBM replaced its human resources functions with AI that handled 94% of routine requests and failed on the remaining 6%, which included ethical dilemmas and nuanced interpersonal situations. IBM is now tripling its U.S. entry-level hiring. Its chief human resources officer, Nicolas Lameron, essentially said, if we don't continue to invest in entry-level hires, what happens in 3 to 5 years? There is no pipeline. The well simply dries up. That quote should concern every executive currently celebrating headcount reductions, because the pipeline problem is very serious, very real, and often not talked about enough. If you stop hiring junior employees because AI handles the entry-level work, you lose the training ground that produces your senior employees. And when the AI fails at senior-level judgment, which it will because baby AI isn't ready yet, there's just nobody left to step up. The well dries up, and once it's dry, no amount of investment can refill it quickly. AI completes tasks, but it does not complete jobs. The 40% it can't handle is where 90% of the actual value lives, and the cost of learning this lesson is staggering and measured in severance payments, premium rehiring salaries, lost institutional knowledge, and shattered employee trust. And one of the things that keeps coming up in all of these stories, whether it's the boomerang, the rehiring, or the boardroom dependency, is the question of what responsible AI deployment actually looks like. And I don't only mean from the perspective of how you treat your workforce, but in how the technology itself handles the data it's given. That's also why Lumo sponsoring this video feels very relevant, because it's basically trying to answer the question, what would an AI assistant look like if privacy was the starting point, not just an afterthought? Privacy has always been important, but it matters even more now with the rise of AI because chatbots can absorb an enormous amount of sensitive information. We've covered on this channel before how many of the biggest problems in AI come down to data, copyrighted data, personal data, private conversations, and the question of who gets to use it and how, and the comments are often understandably angry about certain deployments and uses. Lumo is Proton's AI assistant built by the same team behind Proton Mail and is designed around zero-access encryption, no conversational logs, no use of your chats to train AI models, and Proton-controlled servers in Switzerland. What I like about Lumo is that it does not treat privacy as a nice extra feature, but instead it's the starting point. And for AI, I think that matters enormously because the whole point of using these tools is often to think through things that are still unfinished, private, sensitive, or strategically important. I've been using Lumo for some of my day-to-day queries, research, summaries, drafting, and general questions, and I think it's a genuine option for people who want the usefulness of AI without feeling like every thought they type into a chatbot is being absorbed into the wider big tech machine. You can try it out for free or check out their paid plans at proton.me/houseofl. The link is down in the description. Anyway, responsible deployment isn't just about how AI handles your data, it's about how companies handle the people who generate that data in the first place, and no company illustrates this more clearly than Ford. Since 2020, Ford has cut 5,300 salaried positions. Across Detroit's three major automakers, more than 20,000 white-collar jobs were eliminated in the same period. Ford deployed around 900 AI-powered cameras across its manufacturing lines, designed to detect quality defects at source. The idea was basically to catch problems earlier, reduce waste, and of course, the holy grail, improve margins. They basically thought, feed the AI enough data about what a good vehicle looks like, and it will learn to enforce quality at scale. The logic was a little wrong because it's simplified to the extreme. Charles Poon, Ford's vice president of vehicle hardware engineering, admitted on a press call in June, he said, mistakenly, we thought that by just introducing artificial intelligence and adjusting the design requirements that we had, that would produce a high-quality product. They essentially treated the AI like a magical manufacturing fairy, like you can just feed a PDF of a blueprint into a server and suddenly a perfect Mustang rolls out of the printer without anyone needing to check if the bolts are actually attached. The AI could spot patterns, but it couldn't understand them. It couldn't catch the subtle inconsistencies that a seasoned technician with 20 years on the factory floor identifies by touch, by sound, by a feeling that something isn't quite right with a component. The automated system struggled with defects that fell outside rigid data sets, the kind that don't conform to patterns because they haven't happened before. COO Kumar Galhotra acknowledged that Ford had been relying more and more on automated quality systems and was not getting the results it needed. So Ford did something that most companies do quietly. They rehired 350 veteran engineers, many of whom were former employees who had left or been let go, others recruited from suppliers. They were experienced hands with decades of knowledge accumulated across multiple product cycles. Poon said they had failed to recognize that their AI tools needed to be trained by the most experienced individuals, which, in my personal opinion, is extremely short-sighted, and I strongly advise to consult any computer scientist, even at the undergraduate level, before making firing and hiring decisions off the back of assumptions about the feasibility of an AI system being trained to perform with reasonable accuracy. But hey, why make your life simple when it can actually be complicated, right? So the engineers didn't just inspect vehicles, they ran weekly design reviews to catch failure points before parts reached the factory floor. For the 2026 expedition alone, Ford added 1,200 new inspections and 203 new inspectors at the Kentucky truck plant, alongside 72 new technology tests. And the results were dramatic. Ford went from 15th among mainstream brands in the 2023 J.D. Power Initial Quality Study to first in 2026, the largest year-over-year improvement of any mainstream brand, with 41 fewer problems per 100 vehicles. It beat Toyota, it beat Honda. 3 of its models, the F-150, Super Duty, and Mustang, ranked highest in their respective categories. This improvement saved Ford hundreds of millions of dollars in warranty and recall costs. To be honest, I'm really hoping they've already had some post-mortems about this event, or at the very least, someone please send them a link to this video. But here's the part of the story that should make you uncomfortable. Ford calls these rehired veterans graybeard engineers, which kind of sounds like a wizard subclass, but in this case, just means people who know where the bolts are supposed to go. And part of their job is to train the AI system and the younger engineers so that eventually the experienced hands won't be needed anymore. They have been brought back in part to teach their own replacements. It is less succession planning and more corporate necromancy with a team's invitation. As a computer scientist, this is where I find myself a little bit torn. On the one hand, that's just how technological development works. Knowledge gets transferred, systems improve, and eventually the machine can do what the human taught it. But on the other hand, these are real people who were let go, told the expertise was no longer needed, and then asked to come back and hand over the very knowledge that makes them valuable before letting them go again. There's just something deeply uncomfortable about treating institutional knowledge as a resource to be extracted rather than a capability to be honored. If I was personally the head of these companies, my instinct would be the opposite of what most of them seem to be doing. I'd use AI to mine every possible efficiency improvement, lead generation, quality control acceleration, pattern detection at scale, so that my people could do higher quality work faster, expand the business, improve the product, keep growing, keep the humans. I would go all in on strategy because the data is now very clear. Companies that use AI to augment humans succeed. Companies that use AI to substitute for humans fail and then rehire at a premium. The lesson was always there. Ford just proved it on a press call. While the boomerang plays out on the factory floors and customer service lines, something equally concerning is happening in offices and boardrooms. A brand new category